All right, so Gus is tied to the little whatever he set up for Alex set up for Scrappy.
Okay.
With a Connor's got a hand on it too. And I'm gonna stick my arm through the air, the little shell thing.
Okay. It feels kind of like nothing is happening.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to hold my arm there until I start to feel some kind of adverse effect.
It feels much colder outside than inside.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like holding your arm in like a frigid lake, where after a minute you would start to lose feeling in your extremities. It's a very bizarre feeling as far as there's no pressure on you at all from any direction, really. Whereas inside the tower, there's no gravity, but your body is still holding itself together. You have this weird feeling sticking your arm through the Contra Arrow shell of like your blood and your fat and the guts parts of your arm. All that's holding you together right now is just you have the layer of skin and nothing else. It's kind of like you feel like you're inflating a little bit.
Gus pulls his arm back and he's like, "Whoa, weird."
You pull it back and it takes a minute to kind of adjust. This is something. It's something you definitely would not want to experience for long lengths of time.
Uh-huh.
But for a minute or two, it was survivable.
All right. Test number 2. And Gus sticks his whole head through.
Oh, okay. Immediately, this is much different. Because there's no air. Now, you can hold your breath for a number of minutes equal to 1 plus your Constitution modifier, which is how long for Gus?
+2, so 3 minutes.
So for 3 minutes?
Yeah.
And even going that far would be very, very uncomfortable. The lack of pressure I was describing, the kind of ballooning effect you felt in your arm, feeling it in your face is much, much worse because your face has holes in it. Big holes containing your eyes and like your nostrils. And you immediately, like instinctively close your eyes because you can, even when your eyes closed and pinched tightly shut, you can feel your eyeballs bulging on the other side of your skin. It's incredibly unpleasant. And extremely cold, as mentioned.
Uh-huh. But I can like basically it's unpleasant, but there's nothing like I could sit out here for the full 3 minutes, right?
Do you intend to?
I will push it like 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, and it's just extremely unpleasant for the whole 2 minutes.
Then I'm gonna pull it back and go. That sucked.
Connor, looking at Gus's face, like his eyes are completely bloodshot. Like he has drips of blood coming out of each of his nostrils. For the first couple seconds, at least, he has difficulty speaking, like his tongue isn't sitting in his mouth right. Gus, pulling your head back in, you're immediately accosted by this piercing, ringing sound as your ears are once again adjusting to the atmosphere. Connor, you've never seen somebody's head explode in slow motion, but you have a good sense now of what that might look like.
Okay. Gus? Not doing that again.
Gus is just kind of floating in space. He's up, so he's like, uh-huh.
Gus?
Uh-huh.
Gus.
Uh-huh.
Are you okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Don't do that again unless you can protect your head.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I space. I'm gonna go to space today. Space.
Yep, that was Gus's entire scientific inquiry into the
Okay.
origins, into the mechanics of space.
Alex.
Connor goes upstairs and just shouts across this room to Alex. Gus shoved his head out into space.
Into what?
Contra arrow sphere.
Contra
shell.
Contra arrow shell.
Is he all right? It was pretty cold when I put my hand out.
Yeah, I think he's fine.
The correct
He
answer
might-
is uh-huh.
I think he might have seen some terrible faithing out there, but we got to ask him about it later.
Did I see a terrible Faye thing?
No, you didn't.
Absolutely not. What?
You saw very little of anything because as soon as you poked your head out, you closed your eyes.
All right, talk to me, Gus. How you feeling?
I'm okay.
Are you?
Gus, are you sure you
look
don't want this to be the second campaign
bloodied.
running where somebody gets their eyeballs sucked out of their head? We could just make this... It's a much cooler theme than just Osprey showing up in every campaign.
Just we have a person that loses their eyeballs every time.
Are we working on any of these other problems today, gentlemen?
I got a 9 on that intelligence.
Okay.
So the
So, Alex, you spend the day kind of doubling back over the calculations. Like, something wasn't right, and you decided to start the whole thread over again. Made no real progress today. And Lucius, what are you spending the day trying to learn?
What I wanna
What's
do,
the DC to recover abilities right now?
After
19.
it's going to be 19 next long rest, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and...
I did get at least one spell charge back.
I got 1 Flash of Genius back.
Sorry, are we taking a long rest?
Once Lucius answers, figures out what he's going to get from Stonkmeyer today. I'm just knocking
Okay.
days off the calendar over here.
Yeah. Let me think here. Trying to... Does Stonkmeyer have any of his? He doesn't have any of his notes about how he got up here, right? It's all down in his study.
That was all the trajectory schematics and things. That was all his
Yeah.
calculations on. But he was not, the work he was doing was not even really the opposite of what Alex is trying to do now, because Stonkmeyer was just trying to find an orbit that would be stable enough for him to read all these books. Whereas Alex is trying to find a trajectory to bring the thing back down to the planet.
Yeah. Then what I think I'm gonna do is see if I can find. It's really hard to do things surreptitiously because there's like 4 people in a room the size of a closet.
Yeah, you guys are just all cramped in here, sleeping and pooping together. It's a little bigger than a closet, at least.
Yeah. What kind of things can I see out of the telescope?
Is that what you're going to spend your day learning about?
Yeah.
Does Lucius have any like prior experience with astronomy?
Not really. No.
Then I guess Stockmeyer spends the day just kind of giving you the 101 version of how to locate constellations and things in the sky. But looking through the telescope, you're able to see the heavens in ways that would be impossible from the surface of the world. So there's great beauty to be discovered out there. He shows you where through this device you can see not only the sun that Trennis moves around, but also several other large celestial bodies that travel around the same sun that it's not possible to see from the surface of the planet, but is possible to see with this device at this orbit.
Could I use some of this information to help Alexander in his calculations?
You're pretty sure that knowing these bodies are out here, if you knew exactly where to look and built a similar device, or perhaps used reasonable scrying magic or something, you could prove these bodies exist and publish a pretty good paper on the subject. But as far as this helping you get home, probably not useful in that regard. It's only one of the most fantastic discoveries in science you're ever aware anybody's making.
Yeah, and Lucius is very bummed about that because he would love to be able to write this stuff up, but it's like going to do us no good if we can't actually get back home.
It's like stepping out of the Enertron. It filled up your hit points, but you're still hungry.
But you're still hungry. Then when I cast Dream to commune with Alexander again, I'm going to ask him for inputs as well as the information that I've gleaned from this telescope.
Input to
any ideas on any other avenues of approach.
I mean, have you made any headway convincing any of the other cultists to mutiny?
I failed to roll horribly because, so no, they all seem fanatic and dedicated. Regretfully.
What's next?
Sorry we keep putting Alex on the spot, but when you get launched into space, I think you kind of look towards the Artificer.
It kind of is his wheelhouse, yes.
But, so what is the construction of this, like, these stairs, this tower? Like, are these wooden or stone stairs?
Stone.
So the whole construction is stone. Okay, gotcha.
There's a lot of wood on the inside of the tower, but the only wooden parts on the outside were the boards on the outside of the windows, and those have been jettisoned. At one point, the tower probably had wooden doors, but the wooden doors have all been replaced with iron ones.
I'm more concerned about, like, this area right here.
Well, that part's made of ice, predominantly. But it's connected at one side of the ice wall to this, like, attached to the stone wall on the stairs, and it's attached to the other side to a wooden banister that is iced over.
Okay. So it's just like a wall of ice, just kind of like catty corner. Well, I was just wondering, like, is it possible to go up through under? I mean, it's not like we have anything to do. We've just got, like, time. We're just gonna be like Andy Dufresne.
The difficulty is not circumventing the wall of ice. The difficulty is circumventing the wall of ice before he hits the panic button.
Right. Which is why I'm kind of wondering if we could do it quietly. Slowly but quietly.
Trying to think of a quiet way to, like, dismantle stone and wood structures.
Well, that's what I'm like. That my next question was, what toolkits does Alex actually have?
I can make any of them with an hour. It's just a class feature.
Uh-huh.
I can literally make any toolkit I want, but on me I have equipment. All right, we've got alchemist supplies, cartographer's tools, bag of holding, hard to find things, smith's tools, thieves' tools, tinker's tools, and yeah, I can literally just make any toolkit you can name.
Do you know what
hour.
Well, the thing is do you know what a bit brace is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking it's a big old hand drill, and I'm thinking maybe.
I think the smith's tools would have that.
So I'm wondering if we could kind of go in, because at this point all we have is time, right?
Yeah, you got about 3 years.
So if nothing else, it'll keep Gus busy.
It sounds like we're kind of giving up on non-violent solutions. It sounds like Lucius has hit a roadblock and he doesn't expect to get past.
Basically, I think we need to start setting up a way to bust in and kind of shock and awe everything. Yeah. We have to get it. If Stonkmeyer detonates a fireball point blank on the controls, I question whether they'll work. So
yeah, I'll confirm that this is the sort of thing that looks like it would be in like a smithing tools set.
So, yeah. So we need to.
Are we gonna put that plan into motion? Have Gus start trying to form a path up past the ice wall?
Should we simultaneously be going in with acid?
And yeah, maybe we could do. You know what we could do? We could do both. And
that's what I'm saying.
We do both, and then have one of them be stealthier. Maybe we could get through with the stealthier, and the other one be a lot more flashier. If we get lucky, the flasher faster one will work. Right?
Yeah.
So does Connor want to do the acid?
Let's be real here. I'm not going to trust most people to do the acid.
You've got to do the math.
We've got years.
What? Acid? Huh? What? What? Mm-hmm.
The problem is you're going to need at least 20 pounds of acid, and nobody has that much.
That's unreasonable amounts of acid.
Unreasonable.
Got an alchemist supplies. I can start making more.
Unreasonable.
I have to go the slow way, but
yeah, how's that not been an episode title?
How have we slept on this? Like how did this? I feel like this is our fault, not Destil's. Mm-hmm. I feel like I feel like we're all culpable in this.
He cannot be trusted. He's too powerful to be left to his own devices.
What are we doing with the acid?
Right now we're trying to figure out. Okay, it sounds like we're not going to get any diplomatic solutions to this, right? It sounds like we're at a complete impasse and we're going to have to go to violence.
That is.
So,
yes, that is
are we going to tear apart the ice wall at the same time we acid through the ceiling?
How are we tearing apart to the ice wall?
Slowly
Just
with a
tools.
bit brace. Yeah, slowly with a hand drill, basically.
I have so many toolkits.
Okay.
The thought that I have though is by going through the ceiling, then we compromise him. Like he doesn't. If he destroys the.
Starts dropping bricks, it also messes with him.
It also kills him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Words were hard.
Yeah, no, I got what you were saying. That did occur to me as well. So
Gus, why don't you give me a dexterity smithing tools check?
dexterity check.
Yep.
That's a 4.
So
It was almost a 19.
Going through the ice wall isn't going to work for the same reason it didn't work before. They have the ability to refresh it every 12 hours. But if you start dismantling the banister and then the stone wall that the stairs are supported upon, you might be able to make a hole big enough to squeeze up onto the other side of the ice wall. The trick is to doing this without them noticing it. A 4 is not going to get you any progress. You basically just kind of spent the day figuring out a method that might work, but not actually getting anywhere, being overcautious. If you continue to work it, this is work you might finish over the course of, say, 2 days of successful checks without anybody noticing.
Okay.
I'll say you can do it in 1 day if you coordinate with Lucius and he distracts people on the other side and allow you to work a little faster.
Right. We'll go with the quiet method because I still feel like Lucius might be able to get some more information about the functionation of the tower. I'll leave it up to him.
All right, go ahead and take the benefits of the long rest as we go into the next day. Lucius, you're aware of this, but the people downstairs probably aren't. But today is actually the equivalent of whatever New Year's Day is. A year has come and gone. And you know, down in Dunfoss, people will be celebrating the coming of the new year. And you only know this because Stonkmeyer mentions it in passing.
Lucius grumbles a little bit.
No, he's missing out on all the good parties.
Yeah.
Gus is kind of floating with the bit brace, trying to figure out the best way to attack, and he just kind of offhandedly says, "I hope we don't get declared dead or something." That'd be awful.
Alex, go ahead and give me an intelligence check for the day's calculations, and Gus, go ahead and give me a Dex tools check for the day's work.
It's a 16 on int.
Okay. How'd the work go?
17.
17. Another day like that. What you've done is you're basically going through, you've removed some of the mortar from around one of the stones that make up the wall the stairs are set into. And you've dismantled part of the banister. The bottom of it is still gripped tightly by the ice wall, but you've sawn through part of it in such a way that it's not immediately noticeable. And you've kind of wrenched it loose. So all you have to do is lift it up and free of the ice wall. And once you pull out a couple of stones beneath, you should be able to shoulder your way up, providing you're not wearing your armor at the time.
It's not going to help against a wizard anyway, so...
One more day of work like that, you should have it done. Alex, at this point, you've finished the calculations as well as you think you can. You don't think you're going to get any more use out of going. You've gone through them, you've checked, you've double-checked, you've rechecked, you've invented trigonometry and calculus and whatever else. So...
a flint raker theorem.
If you'll bear with me just 1 second as I go to immiger.com.
It's like Pythagoras theorem.
Alex, am I correct in assuming that when you bring the tower down, you want to bring it down in a place that is accessible to the world you're familiar with?
Yeah. I'm thinking somewhere in the big forests that Connor knows really well.
Where all the Fey bullshit lives?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not going to go poorly. Drop a tower on a Fey Lord.
As the tower is, tearing down through the Contra Eros shell, you just pat Connor on the back. It's like, by the way, we're going to crash into all the Fey bullshit.
Oh, man.
Connor would be on board with crashing a tower into the Fey bullshit. Seems like a good way to handle it.
All right.
Actually, we do know where a abandoned farm is.
We do.
I'm just saying.
Alex. It's not like throwing a dart at the board. Your calculation will allow you to pick a hex on this map to try to crash in with some level of certainty.
Connor,
But
do you have any advice on which hex to crash into?
you can tell me what hex you're going to aim at, but there's a good chance you might hit one of the surrounding hexes.
I'm thinking this one then.
Okay, so just crashing here into the forest and starting a big fire.
Yeah.
What if we burn the whole forest down?
That's not likely. I mean, your crash is going to be a remarkable explosion, but it's not going to be more destructive than like a year's worth of lightning strikes.
How?
This is a lot of forest. This is the big zoomed out map. This is, what is it? 1 hex equals 60 miles.
Uh-huh. What about landing in the ocean?
I feel like we might drown. And if we don't drown, we might die of exposure trying to make our way back to land. Landing in the ocean does not seem safe to me.
Okay.
So we're going to aim for these forests.
Why don't we aim for the Anopanagoran?
The control isn't that precise. We just end up in a different forest farther away from home.
No, you'd end up in a time loop, just always crashing into it.
That's even worse.
All right, so on the region map here, you're actually aiming at a point kind of off the map to the east.
So
Sure, I mean, if I could do it like just around here on this map, it's a little bit more. Like, my idea is to hit a hex that there's forests in every adjacent hex in that general area.
Now, Connor, you know that the forests are vast and they're not civilized, but they're also not empty. There are peoples living in the forest. There are animals, there are monsters, there's fable shit, and there are some number of speaking peoples that live in the forest. Predominantly like forest gnome villages, maybe some hill dwarves, lots of firbolgs, maybe some reclusive sylvan elven communities far, far to the north. So
what is our thinking in crashing into a forest as opposed to an open area? Like
trees.
More cover?
I think. I don't
The
know.
other thought I had is if we crash into a mountain, there's less distance to fall. That seems way out of the way.
I don't know. Mountains are kind of hard, dude.
That's the other part about a forest. Like, there's some give in the trees. They might absorb some of the shock as opposed to just litho breaking.
That was a word.
Connor,
Anyway.
Yeah.
let's go with either. We'll call this nature or religion. It's your choice.
Connor has nature. Who takes religion? Religion's dumb. That's a 10.
A 10. I mean, he's not wrong. If you're going to fall from a high distance, landing amidst tree branches does sound like a better option than just smashing into the side of a mountain or even just hitting the surface of the ocean. Like, I'm assuming you've fallen out of a tree at some point.
He is too dexterous. He is not.
Several trees.
Yeah, there's something there to absorb the shock.
Okay. Okay.
And we don't drown. Like, I think the ocean is the other obvious solution, but I feel like we would just drown if we hit the ocean.
So the hex on the big map, they're 60 miles, so that's 10 hexes on this map.
Correct.
Yes.
Like, the hex... Let me pull up the big map again. I thought I was going to get more use out of this big map in the campaign.
So I basically have a 180-mile radius that I could hit.
More or less.
Yeah.
But yeah, any hex that you could pick that's completely surrounded by forest is going to be considerably off the map from like the region map of Dunfoss. Which, that's not a big deal. You guys have traveled further than that by boat and by foot in this campaign.
Mm-hmm. So basically, that entire map is this set of hexes.
That entire map is like just this set of hexes. Yes.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I could go north, but do we really want to deal with the undead?
We might take a couple out with us. I mean, I'm okay with that.
All right. Let's do this hex then.
Like even that map, even that like the dwarven mountain home would still be in like this hex. It's fairly.
Yeah. We're gonna
We're
gonna go here then. Gus has convinced me.
Okay.
Like if we screw it up, and we die, might as well.
So Gus, you're gonna crash into the forest north of the mountain home, then traveling south, you'll be coming through the war zone. Is that the intent?
Sounds fine to me. I don't care.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
It's fine. We could, like I said, we could pick Kevin up on the way.
Okay.
I mean, there's going to be massive collateral damage.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna
Yeah.
have to figure out a way to actually survive hitting the ground, and I think maybe the arrows fell. That part I'm still working out, but I'm pretty sure, if you hit enough air at once, it hits you back.
No, that makes
Basically
sense.
wind, but you
Yeah.
know.
It sets you on fire. Got you.
I mean, you guys are accomplished magicians. I can assume at some point you've encountered magical wind that's so strong it feels like it crashes into you.
Gus
Yeah,
has
but never so strong that it compresses and heats you.
There's just so much wind, you just get lit on fire.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, I'm going to put select crash zone as done. That
Yeah.
part's done. Calculations are completed. We still need to figure out how to alter the trajectory. So you have the theory on how to do that, Alex. It's just a matter of you need to get somebody down to the rockets and reposition them.
Yep.
And you can give instructions on exactly how to do it, or you would know exactly how to do it yourself.
So,
Do you
Alex,
guys want to? Oh.
I was going to say, Alex, you have the math on this. How fast are we going to go down? Is this going to be like a gradual thing over, I don't know, a couple of hours, or do we have minutes, seconds?
Oh, time is not going to be an issue. The distances involved mean that we're going to have a lot of time. We're going to be falling for a while. Until we're not. The problem with time is that last bit at the end.
Yes, I know. I'm familiar with the fact that it's not the fall that kills you, but
I think, okay, so my understanding of falling is we will probably eventually reach what you would call terminal velocity. We'll be going faster than that to start, so we'll be doing super terminal velocity. We might slow down to maybe the speed if you jumped off a cliff, quarter mile high by the end.
Connor's eyes have just glazed over.
I like to think that Alex has like a diagram of like a cliff. and
Oh,
then
he does.
Gus-
He absolutely does. He's like explaining exponential acceleration and parabolic curves.
he
as
pulls a
he's doing it.
chalkboard. He pulls a like a folding chalkboard.
No,
out
he has a
of the bag
grease
of
pen he's
folding.
writing on this window with.
But
You can't see Gus at this scale because the cliff is half a mile high, but he's way up here.
So, well, the reason I ask is, do we want to try to stealth? Like, are we aware of the stealthy? We should be, because like they've had another dream since then. The stealthy approach. Do you want to try that? Like manually lighting the.
Lighting the I mean, and then like going down without even dealing with Stockmeyer.
Right.
My concern is if he has control over the controls, he might try and interrupt what we're doing while he's up there. He's still in control of the ship.
Well, from what Lucius found out, if I'm, and I could be mistaken, he doesn't really have control per se. He has like he has a timer that he can set. to
That's
burn the
correct.
rocket.
Once, if he doesn't have any way to, because if you guys light the fuel on fire and ignite the rockets, the fuel is then gone. Doesn't matter what he wants to do after that point. He only has the fuel he had because he wanted to do one more test before leaving, and he didn't get the opportunity to do that because a bunch of people broke into his tower and started breaking things.
I don't think we broke anything.
You broke all of his skitter widgets.
I personally think it's. I don't want to fight Stockmire on the way back. If it's going to come down to that, I'd rather do it before we enact the rest of the plan.
Well,
Unless you think he'll give up if we're on a return course.
No, he's not going to give up. But that
Right.
said, I kind of do agree with you on your previous statement of, like we're in a spot where magic doesn't work. He's a wizard, and you have a gun. I believe was your exact phrase.
Make an Arcana check. I'll let
Yeah.
both of you make this independently.
He also doesn't have his spell book.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You guys have the advantage.
Yeah,
that
I've got a 23 on Arcana.
I have significantly less than that.
Stockmire's an accomplished wizard, and as you are crashing, it should become easier to use spells because you're re-entering
Right.
the plan. It's
Right.
but Stockmire doesn't have access to a spell book. He has no way to prepare spells at the moment.
Here's the problem though, is he's still making the same rolls that we are to get his spell slots back, and he's going to be dumping all of those spell slots into fireballs.
It doesn't matter.
If push comes to shove.
He's a wizard.
thought-
He can't even make those rolls. A wizard requires
Yeah, he needs to
the
study his
spell
spell
book
book to recover spells out of character.
Oh, I thought that.
No, as a wizard, your spell preparation is an hour you spend after a long rest reading your spell book.
Correct.
Oh, that's interesting because I thought it was. No, I'm not arguing with you, and especially since this is in our benefit.
That's also how you cast rituals as a wizard.
But I was under the impression that spells like wizards, if they didn't have their spell books, the only spells they could prepare were the ones they memorized, and that was like a protection in case their spell book was destroyed. They had some spells.
They have provisions.
Yeah, they can't change their spells, but they can't get their spells back.
The spell book is a required asset for preparing spells for that particular class.
And it's in the bag of holding. And so
I mean, my opinion is if you've made any progress on stealthily disassembling the wall, I'll make some progress on unstealthily aciding the ceiling. Just go on 3. 3 and then go.
well, maybe we could get Lucius to kind of like probe what spells he has.
Lucius, you want to spend the next day figuring out what spells Stockmire has prepared?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. See what he's got. See if I can.
See if you can't figure out
what he's got left.
how many spell slots he's got left.
Make an investigation check. Charisma investigation.
Okay, charisma investigation. Thank you. Yeah.
Before making this, go ahead. Go ahead and make it.
Well, I think I need to spend blips on that because that's a nat 1.
Are we putting 2 blips down?
2 blips down for an 18 on investigation.
18. All right, bear with me one moment as I erase all of your blips.
I have 6.
Boop, they're
I
gone.
have 4.
Stockmire had some fireballs stored in a magic device that he no longer has. No, I'm sorry, he still has 1 left. So he can fire off 1 fireball without having to make that check. He has his spells stored in just a magic piece of jewelry. 2 of them he used in the original combat, and 1 of them he still has.
Okay.
He has some basic cantrips, Mage Hand, Mending, Light, Prestidigitation kind of stuff. A lot of his spells he had prepared and needed to be used in preparation for launching the rocket, so he had fewer spells prepared on the day that you guys showed up that he usually would have.
Gotcha.
What he has remaining... he is purposely keeping Banishment in his back pocket. Specifically for Gus. Because Gus is the one that beat the hell out of him before. If it comes to violence, Gus can be pretty much assured of being banished almost immediately, providing he can make his spellcasting check.
How dominable you feeling today, Gus?
We'll see. That's a charisma check, right?
The other major, potentially dangerous spell that he has is Polymorph, which he has prepared.
Lucius has Lucius's banishment, so he could tell you exactly. Yeah, it is charisma. As far as polymorph goes, I don't have counterspell to hand, and even then, it's going to be hard to counter that because you're having to fight layers upon layers of spell nullification here.
So yeah, Lucius, you can count on him casting each of those spells at least once.
Okay.
And other stuff he goes through is just stuff that's not going to be applicable, like comprehend languages, Tensor's floating disk, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, Lucius will pass all that information on.
Okay, is that all for today?
Have we figured out? Did I miss the conversation where we're changing the trajectory of this thing?
Oh yeah.
Well, I asked you for advice on specifics and where to put it down, like the Fey Cursed Wilds, and we chose a place that sounded okay.
Okay.
You made
unless you have more input there, Connor.
Nope.
Connor's like on the scale of Fey Cursed Wilds to Undead Cursed Mountain. Connor is, I think, on the let's go to the Undead Cursed Mountain because that ranks slightly lower on his don't want to go there list. Correct.
So to be clear, what we're talking about,
It's like
the
New
undead,
York.
the undead siege is happening at Silverwolf's mountain homes up here. This is a mountain in the sense that it's probably the highest peak around, but it's not a mountain like the Far East mountain range are mountains. This is a very hilly region, and the mountain home is probably set into the largest of them. But it's not like from space you're going to be able to pick out, like, there's Mount Everest, that's what we're aiming for. From high up in the Contra Aero shell where you guys are going to be coming down, you're mostly just going to see forest from that height. You're not going to be able to pick out a big rock.
Well, I mean, our understanding is the area is just basically full of undead. They've got it bottled in, but it's full of undead, so we're less likely to land among, like, living people. I
just want to make sure that you guys aren't picturing, like, a Final Fantasy 1 style, like, unbreakable mountain range to your north. It's very hilly and very forested, but it's not like high steep peaks like the mountain range to the far east would be.
So what you're saying is this there's like this right here is not on top of Gurgu volcano.
Correct.
Okay.
Dude, if you manage to land inside of Gurgu volcano,
we rolled a nat 20. We sail right past that spell that hit that Tarask in the butt, right into Final Fantasy.
You crash into Gurgu volcano, and like 9,000 agamas go flying out in every direction.
Excellent.
Carrie's like, what the?
All right, go ahead and take your long rests. Your DC now to regain spell charges, etc. is 20, and it will remain at 20 for the duration of the trip.
And that's just a straight ability score check, right?
Just an ability score check, yes. For you, it's intelligence, I believe.
I got that last one back finally.
I just to roll with just to let everybody know what I have. Since I'm done, I over the course of it managed to get everything back except my dedicated use of shield and from my feet and one first level spell slot.
I got 2 20s and a 19.
Nice.
That is the best I have ever rolled ever.
I've got everything but 2 flashes of genius back at this point.
So
outside of Adric's attacking
I've got all
his
my
friends.
magic back.
I feel like we're in a much better spot than Stonkmeyer magically.
Gus.
Yeah.
Gus, go ahead and give me your check for the day's work. Dexterity plus your tools.
Okay. Now, when I finish this, like I don't want to like bust through. I just want to make it.
No, this is you disassembling it quietly and without notice to a point where you can like quickly remove one of the railings of the banister and 1 or 2 of the stones from the wall. Until you physically remove those things, you're not going to be able to even notice it's been done.
18.
18. So you've completed the
Where did-
work. With another minute of work, you can make the hole big enough for you to squeeze through, providing you're not wearing armor.
Right. Does everybody else have to take their armor off? Or just me, because I'm wearing plate?
I would say that Alex could probably wear armor because he's a gnome.
Right.
But, I mean, this is... The idea here is you're trying to make... Like, this is an Andy Dufresne hole. The hole is just big enough for you to physically get through. If you go any bigger, you're probably pushing your luck.
All right.
So right now it's a 20 on ability check to cast a spell successfully, right?
That's correct.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead. Are we ready to go? Is everybody?
Is it go time today?
Is everyone ready for go day?
So
Yeah.
are we going to try and stop Stockmeyer? Do you have something to say, Connor?
Do we have all of those 6 steps figured out?
No.
You have
I think we have 2 of them figured out.
you have completed the calculations and you've selected a crash zone. You still need to physically alter the trajectory. You still need to ignite the rockets. You have to figure out a way to survive re-entry and to survive the crash.
And I think that before we ignite the rockets, I want to deal with Stockmeyer personally. I don't know about anybody else.
Oh, okay.
Now,
So
all
we're
right,
dealing with.
is it safe to assume that Lucius has you've coordinated that you're going to pull the trigger on this today with Lucius, so he knows what's coming?
Yeah.
I mean, we would have told him via
I
telepathy.
mean, I think at this point, here's the thing: you can use telepathy to send him information, right?
Yeah.
All day long. Yeah.
I mean, don't do it all day long. It seems kind of rude. Like, give the man some privacy. All right,
Did you
so
ever
let's go ahead and take a break then.
I tell you about
And-
this bug I saw.
Go ahead, get your coffee, get your bagel. When we come back, we'll pull the trigger on this.
This whole situation.